What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Funcast, episode 11. Our guest today is Jonathan, the Meddling Mushroom. He's a combat veteran, psychedelic advocate, teacher of many, and a friend of all of the community. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, bro.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Well, I guess I'll start off with it was wonderful seeing you at the entheogen expo this past weekend.
Oh, dude, it was amazing to see you. Sorry, there was a lag there for a minute, and I bumped my table, and it was just shaking all over the place.
Oh no, it's all right, man. It was you did a great job out on the on stage, giving the little your demonstration and stuff like that.
Thank
As
you.
well as just like everything, man. I don't know. I feel like there was so much going on that it was hard for me to be anywhere at one time. I had to be everywhere at all times.
Yes, totally agreed. And it was amazing to see you and so many of our friends. Like, I really wish that we could have just like a dedicated day for us just to kind of get together, maybe sit down, eat, and talk and share stories where we can actually just like hang out because I think we're trying to like intermingle the events and hanging out at the same time. So, and it's just we never get that like solid time with each other.
I agree, man. It's a lot of the like I gotta get the little guy in there.
Yeah.
um, I think we should like totally try to have like a little at least like a luncheon or get together like a day before with a lot of the vendors or speakers or and people of that nature, just so we can all sit down together and it could be a lot at times when you're meeting a bunch of people at the event, fans, family, friends, all of the above. Friends you've been talking to for like 10 years, and you never see their face. You just know them as like rubber ducky tooth.
I know, and I think really at these events it would be so nice to have like name tags printed out with the logo of your Instagram handle because it would make that interaction a little bit more solid for me, and I'm pretty sure other people would agree with that because we know each other, we talk to each other, but we're always based out on a logo, and that's another reason why I came out and started showing my face and showing myself because one, I wasn't scared anymore. I don't care. I don't grow a ton, like a bag or two, just for retaining genetics, but that's about it. And so I didn't really have any reason to be so reclusive or hiding. But I think that logo and that name next to that, would really help someone to be like, oh, yeah, you're so and so.
I
We've been
agree,
talking
100.
forever.
percent
Wouldn't that be easier? It'd be so nice, and it'd make that transition or that greeting much quicker.
Because there was even a couple, a couple of times this past at the expo where I like it took me a second before I really like, it's like, do I know who you are? You know what I mean? And I had to like go through the files in the brain like SpongeBob.
Yes, and a lot, there are some Instagram handles that sound like each other and they're very similar. So it's like, I've
Oh,
been in that awkward situation, and I know you were too.
we did that with myco apprentice.
Michael Prentice, yeah, she's awesome. She did a good job.
Yeah, she was super cool to talk to. But yeah, there's somebody who had a similar username. But at the end of the day, I got to meet somebody really rad who's like also into the science. It's always cool to like meet people who you can talk shop with, right?
Yeah, nerd out or geek out with.
Yeah, like talk about soil or the hydration of grains, and you know what I mean. See,
Let me see.
um,
It's
just get
fun.
like just nerd out, man. But
Yeah.
so, like, what do you like to do when you're not doing myco, man? I know, I know you're into fitness, right?
Yeah. Gosh, I was really heavy into weightlifting a couple years ago, and it's quite embarrassing. I've had a lot of people come up to me at the expo going, "John, you lost a lot of weight," and I did. I dropped about 46 pounds. A couple years ago, I was jacked. I was lifting weights heavy, and it was consistent. And I got walking pneumonia from going to a music festival at Lightning in a Bottle
No,
from somebody. Got home,
no,
got
what's
super
flu?
sick. Oh, dude, it was horrible. And I lost tons of weight. I lost my momentum. I lost my consistency of working out. And then it was just straight into heavy work. I had many clients at the time after that. And it was just, I wasn't providing myself enough body care, time, consistency in my workouts. And it just started declining. Yeah. And I lost 46 pounds. I was jacked. I was looking like my boy Van, he's looking good.
Dude, Van's over there like doing, earth downs. He doesn't even do
Yeah.
push-ups.
He's pushing the world down, man. But I'm getting it back. Yeah, I enjoy hiking, surfing, paddleboarding is really fun with my wife. We have a huge tandem 12-foot by 4.5 foot
That's cool.
paddleboard. Yeah, the dogs love it too, bro. It's sick.
You have the whole family on the paddleboard just rowing down the river.
Dude, it's rad, and especially here in Long Beach, we have the canals that go in and out of the little.
Okay,
Yeah, it's beautiful, and you can go into the bridges and the little bays. It's really neat.
that's really cool, man.
Yeah, I like anything on a
Um,
board. I can't skateboard, but I can snowboard really well. That's the board I've been on the longest. Been snowboarding since I was 6. So
dude, I've
yeah,
been snowboarding one time.
well, gotta go. We should do a
It,
myco mountain trip.
I would love to do that. That would be a blast. I didn't really like. I did a lot of longboarding, like skating. Uh,
Okay.
so like I've done like a lot of balance stuff throughout my life, but like just growing up in Florida, it was kind of hard to get to the snow.
Yeah.
And
I like
but
sticking
like the
on.
one time I went, it was at the end of the season, and I was like, I busted my ass, dude. I literally had bruised butt cheeks by the end of the hill.
Yeah, that's the best way to learn.
One like first and only time I've ever had a bruised butt cheek was after snowboarding, and I'm totally down to get it again.
Let's do it, bro. Yeah, I miss it. It's the piece of being just in nature and doing something physically strenuous is always really what attracted me. I love hiking. I was born here in California, but I lived most of my life in Colorado, so I was always in the Rocky Mountains. And I just enjoy it. I think hiking and being adventurous and also camping is one of my favorites. I just love being in nature.
Dude, being in nature is the best. It's like when you go so deep into nature that you don't hear like the
And
cars or like you don't hear the outside world. It's just nature. It's like one of
yeah,
the best feelings ever.
and I need that. I'm kind of a very weird creature. I'm overstimulated by a lot of things. I have an heightened sense of smell, sight, and hearing. My mom used to call me Spider Man when I was a kid, and if I'm surrounded by anything, I can't even sleep with my cell phone anywhere near the bedroom. We don't have like TVs on or anything and stuff. If I hear the slightest sound, like even if a TV is turned off, it still makes that electronic sound. And I'm so sensitive to it. And when I'm out in nature, I can just really tune into myself because I don't have to tune anything out. And then I can really look inwards and just get that sense of peace. I don't get that very much in LA.
It's understandable, man. LA is I'd say, New York's a city that never sleeps, but I'd say LA is right there with it,
Oh, yeah.
Uh, and yeah, man, when I was living in New York, it was kind of crazy to like, we'd go out to like a hike and like, deep in Jersey or something. And it's like living in the city, you genuinely appreciate like nature to the fullest to a point where like it's arguably like I feel like I could take it for granted. Say I lived in the mountains in nature, It's like, I guess vice versa, right? There's always pros and cons to everything.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I do miss living in Divide, Colorado, with my parents, and it was just beautiful. We had a ranch, horses, and literally I could go hiking in one direction behind Pikes Peak for hundreds of miles for a couple of days by myself and not see a single human being. I missed.
That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. We lived on the west side of Pikes Peak. Pikes Peak is a 14,000-foot mountain that you can see from Colorado Springs, and it was just
Okay.
beautiful. Yeah, I miss that. What do you like to do on your non-myco days, making substrate all that time?
Dude, I like to film podcasts. No,
Yeah.
I'm just I like to skydive. I've been well, so I got into skydiving a little over a year ago. So it's a fairly new
Cool.
thing for me. Um I've like gotten my license. I've gotten like, some license, like we've got currently at my C license for skydiving.
Okay. Package
So
two.
like that's like, yeah, like there's like I could Uh, pack my own parachute for sure. That's like you get that pretty much. You have to learn how to do that to get your license.
Right.
I'm at like 200 jumps now, so I could do like
Wow.
uh, just like some different jumps. I could do like helicopter jumps and hot air balloon jumps.
Oh, dude,
Jump in certain winds and stuff. It's kind of crazy, man.
that's
Uh,
freaking rad.
I really enjoy it. And I like going on nature hikes, man, as well. So it's like, realistically, like tomorrow I'm actually doing. Wait, tomorrow is Thursday. Yeah, tomorrow I'm doing my first ever sunrise jump. So we're
Oh,
gonna get on the plane
dude,
like super early in the morning, like
that
go up to
sounds cool.
altitude. My friend and I are gonna jump out. We're gonna like pretty much just like do a little two-way, watch the sunrise, try like get away from each other, pull the parachute a little high, and then like fly the parachute while the sun rises, and that's
That's
gonna be like the
rad,
breakfast.
dude. That's so cool. Like what like altitude do you jump at? Like 12 or 13?
Usually like 13,300 is
Okay.
what we like. Usually get out at. Sometimes a little higher, sometimes a little lower.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, man, for the most
that's
part,
rad.
13,300.
You know what you call it? Feng straight free fall.
Man, I'm gonna like film the whole video. I'm gonna get the video and everything. I might even post it on the page. Probably try to like rock a feng straight shirt or something, or I don't
Yes.
know.
The free fall of feng straight terminal velocity.
It's fun, man. I'm
That's
terrified of heights too, so it's like one way of like breaking through barriers and fears.
yeah.
Um,
It is scary, and then like, but once you hit terminal velocity, is really you get past that stomach feeling, and there's really nothing left, just a bunch of blowing air.
yeah, you get to fly around,
Yeah,
do a little.
nothing like when you pull your chute and your harness isn't positioned in the wrong way.
Oh man,
God.
that's never a fun time, dude. Or like something's under a leg strap or something, and the next thing you know.
Oh,
But when I'm not doing that, I don't know. Sometimes I like to go to the beach.
nice.
Fairly close to the beach. It's kind of a little chilly right now.
Yeah.
And hike. And mycology, man. Feel like now that I work in mycology, I don't have as much time to be a hobbyist mycologist.
Yeah. It. Tell me about it. Oh my gosh. It is hard to
But it's not
balance.
like I'm not complaining about it. But this is something that like I'm obviously passionate about. And before it was a business, it was a it was a hobby, but it was more of like an obsession hobby because we were, all of us. You've been teaching the community since forever. You taught me like hella things throughout the years as well. Yeah, man. It's like back those days. We hardly even had brands. Most of us didn't even have. We didn't even weren't even known by like the accounts we're known by today, right?
Yeah, many many
Uh,
deletions ago.
Deletions and like renames or whatever, rebrands. There's been so much. It's pretty awesome, man. Um, are you planning on going to any other expos this year, or like
Um,
forages or forays?
I'm nothing really massive. There's a couple local classes I'm going to be teaching soon. Hopefully, I'm trying to work out better dates that would be available to the local community. Really, just trying to focus on changing my approach to the industry right now because as all of us are feeling the industry has gone way down because most of the things is being flooded, the market's being flooded by these large corporations, these massive corporations, whether if
Yeah.
you're had money in investors, if they were an old cannabis company and they had the space and the money to do whatever the hell they wanted to just throw money at the wall. But since that has been flooded, I've been able to revert focus to more of a functional, medicinal, gourmet approach to it, cultures and growing and cultivating those functional mushrooms for a clientele that is in need of it in a sense of, whether if it's Alzheimer's, dementia, arthritis, different pains, ailments, diseases. It's been
What
gratifying to
functional
see.
mushrooms are you? Sorry to like when you say functional
Chaga,
mushrooms.
yeah, chaga, maitake, cordyceps, reishi, antler reishi, red reishi, lion's mane. It's a mixture of all of these different functional mushrooms and showing a an amazing results in my log system, and the feedback I get from a lot of my clientele is remarkable. It's really neat to see a lot of people with anything from cancer, like I said earlier, dementia, Alzheimer's. These things are starting
Yeah.
to diminish, and it's awesome to really see. Like it's really helping people.
Is this in like the whole fruit form or this like an extract form?
Whole fruit form, dried, grounded up into a powder, and then capsulated.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay. That's
and
really cool, man.
I feel like a wizard when I'm putting these together because it's not all just one vat and big batch, and I'm grinding it all together and just capsulizing it all at once. When I get approached by a client or someone asks me, "Hey, do you make these functional mushroom capsules? I got it from my friend, or I heard about it," so forth. I really try to gear my mix directly to that client. What's going on? What are the problems that you're facing? Is it a
Like get
is
a
it a
little
disease?
rundown of their like ailments per se, right?
Yeah, of
So you
course.
can customize something to that'll work to their best benefit.
Correct. And it makes it more detail oriented, and also it makes that client feel special as they should because it's not just this mass production where everybody's getting the same product.
It's
It's
personal. It's on a personal
correct.
level.
And I feel like a wizard when I'm putting it together. Yeah, I weigh out my ratio so it corresponds to the size of capsule that I'm using and so forth. But sometimes there's a little bit of more cordyceps in it. Sometimes there's a little bit of lion's mane or chaga, maitake, or whatever inside of these capsules. And so far, I've just been spot on helping these people. And it feels like I'm really doing magic. All mushrooms are magic, and we
You
really
are
need
definitely doing magic, man. For
to.
sure.
That's where I got my name. Really, back in the day, everybody was myco this or myco that, and my logo was a cat sniffing an Amanita muscaria. I don't know if you remember that back in the day.
I don't think I do.
Oh man, that was like 2016 or 17.
Oh, dude, I wasn't even in the community then.
Yeah,
I'm not that much of an OG. I think like I feel like I was blessed with a lot of knowledge by a lot of the the OGs in the community. Yourself, included. Like you
yeah.
remember like the myco collector, which I'm hoping to have on the podcast.
Oh
Blue
yes.
cat. I also grow. Back
Oh,
in the day, like
you cat.
yeah.
Yeah.
Rest in
Um,
peace.
I also grow mushrooms. She knows. Well, she knew him personally, and so did I.
Yeah, I
It,
spoke to him all the time.
yeah, he was a really cool dude.
Yeah, and he was like I'd say one of the most efficient mycologists ever,
Yes. Yeah, and he
ever
was
to
good at
live.
his genetics. Him and I would trade. That's where my BM3 is from. We had Blue Mini of the Cubensis, and we just kept trading it back and forth for like 3 or 4 years. He would isolate it, and I would isolate it. It was fun, and that's why I keep it BM3. It was because the third year we were messing around with it. That's what it became.
That's cool, man. I have some illusion weaver.
Yeah, Pearl Harbor, Illusion
Yeah,
Weavers. Yeah, there was a
Pearl
lot of
Harbor, man. Dude, I also grow. She worked so hard on getting that thing to germinate. Uh,
Oh,
back in
Illusion
the,
Weavers.
I'm sorry,
Illusion Weavers.
the Pearl Harbor, I think it
Oh,
was.
I got a spore print over
Um,
there of it.
but before it was like released, when they were like, because like I think he gave her some of the spores to germinate, and she tried to germinate it like multiple times, and it didn't germinate. But one time it finally popped,
Woo!
and then and then it was like re-released. I guess I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure because we were talking about like all of that stuff. We would talk like daily back in the day. Um, but yeah,
You're
the
popular right
illusion
now,
weaver. I have
bro.
some illusion weaver going, man, and it's from Spore. Thought I'd bring back some of the OGs.
Just,
What do we got here? Sheesh! What is that? That is
some,
beautiful.
yeah, it's my Illusion Weavers right there. I
Is
got
that
so
just like a spore print?
yeah on microscope slides.
Gosh
And
darn, dude, that's ridiculous. That looks like a work of art. That came from the
oh
cap directly.
yes, yeah. So
Nice.
I take two microscope slides. I sterilize it under UVC bulb, and then UVC B if you want to. After I sterilize each microscope slide, I take off the cap when, preferably before the veil breaks. I like to pull back the veil with the scalpel blade,
It's so
slice the cap
satisfying.
off. Yeah, and just let it sit on there. And it drops its spores.
I haven't taken the spore print in a minute, man.
Oh,
Um,
it's been a while.
I guess like yeah, like the last ones I took were of the leucistic B plus.
Oh, nice.
Uh, which I think about like I lost that, so lost the culture at least. So I think I'm gonna have to pop that again from Spore. I'm yeah, man, mycology, dude. Where do you think you'd be without it, man? Can you even
Well, I
where do
would
you even picture
probably
life
still
without
be
it?
a chef.
A chef, eh? I
Yeah,
feel like you're
so,
still probably a chef.
yeah.
Once a chef, always a chef.
Damn, you're popular right now. I hear your phone
Dude,
blowing
I'm
up.
sorry, man. Let me throw it out of here. I
You
just
don't
like threw
throw it
my
out.
phone through.
Yeah, back in 2002 and 2003, I was getting my first college degrees, an associate's in applied science of culinary arts and a bachelor's degree in nutritional health science. And that was my first time growing mushrooms, and it was just for fun.
hmm
And that's where I really thought was supposed to be after getting so many college loans lined up. I was like, oh man, and I someone gave me the idea of joining the military. They'd pay for my student loans, which I did. Joined the Navy, spent 7 years in the Navy while doing online courses too when I was on shore, when not in the middle of the ocean, and got some more degrees under my belt. But yeah, as soon as I got discharged medically after some injuries, I was like, okay, what do I do now? The only thing I really knew was culinary arts. I did know how to grow mushrooms, but I didn't think that was going to be profitable or was going to be able to support my wife because we were married
Yeah.
before I got out. So I just was a chef. I was a chef for 20 years, really. In LA, I was a chef for 14 years, all over the place, resorts, restaurants, and that lifestyle is just no good. It's insane. It's 19-hour days, heavy duty. If you're not an alcoholic or a drug addict or or divorced, you're just a miserable bastard. You
Yeah.
definitely are a very strong person. Being a chef was very hard, but that's where I would be at if I had a slip and fall and I exacerbated some older injuries and created some new ones. I was laid up in bed, depressed, had no idea what I was going to do. And, just one day when I was reading a Terrence McKenna book, and I was just like, shit, maybe I should try to focus on something that is not going to make me completely depressed. And maybe I should start this hobby. And my old talents and, my degrees and stuff. And I think being a chef really excelled me into the sanitation and safety portions of being a mycologist. And that's what really excelled me.
That's really cool that you bring that up, man, because it's, the sterile techniques, right? It's like, I guess sterile techniques are sterile techniques no matter where you're doing them, whether
Right.
you're in the kitchen or the lab or, um, you know, I never, that's something I never really thought about, even
Culinary
correlating
application.
this, the two.
Yeah, and even the making like liquid culture or agar. I
Yeah.
poured agar
Like
my first
everything.
everything. Like prepping. When you're cooking grain or something, that's a science in itself that has been applied to a culinary standpoint way before
Oh,
mycologists.
100%.
Yeah, and it works hand in hand. Like why is For instance, when I was teaching class on making liquid nutrient, to make liquid culture, it's a liquid inoculant before it's liquid culture because it's not culture until something's growing in it. And so,
Yeah.
if it's a sugar base, there has to be some sort of approach to it. Everybody's just throwing their ingredients in a jar and putting it in a pressure cooker, and it's coming out just gritty and dark. Why is it doing that? Because there's certain steps and approaches to all those compounds that you have in that jar so it doesn't crystallize, harden, and get cloudy. So I was teaching people how to approach that as a almost a culinary approach and applying it to a mycology.
Bro, um, it's like you're doing it. You're doing it by like, sorry, I just had like a brain fart. Let me restart
Oh,
that.
okay.
You're doing it. No. You're doing it by like showing people how to do things via stuff they can they can already relate to, right? Rather than you know, necessarily hitting everybody with all the Latin terms and specific, times and thermo whatever, like, like thermo resistant spacesuit gloves for pouring agar.
I need some of those. That sounds really awesome.
Dude,
Thermo
right?
resistant
Just
face
like
gloves.
I use like soft little like welding gloves, but my hands are soft. Yeah, I'm trying to work out, but still, the calluses aren't there yet.
I got chef hands, man. Hot doesn't bother me anymore.
Well, speaking of chef skills, the gourmets, man, you're talking all medicinals. Are do you like to throw down with mushrooms in the kitchen
Yes.
and the
Before I
umami
give away
flavors?
too much, I will let you in on a little tip. I am creating a kind of a development and like kind of a cooking class for people that were curious on creating and substituting. Like saying substituting their mushrooms, their oyster mushrooms, for proteins and how to create a dish with these mushrooms. Hey, I want to grow these, but now I don't really know. Maybe I can cook it this way. And some people will do their own thing, but there's certain approaches and applications and recipes. Yeah, it's fun because not only the retention of flavor and balancing those aromatics and terpenes within the mushrooms in your different plates, but also reserving a lot of those compounds without destroying them too much before you consume them. So I'm going to be putting something together for people like a cooking class side by side. Yeah, I'll let you in on some of the details later on exactly how I'm approaching it, and I think people will love that. Yeah, gourmet mushroom cooking classes will be really fun.
That's exciting, man. I'm super stoked to hear about that, and super stoked to
Yeah,
hear more about it in the the future.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good thing to do because there's a lot of people out there who are intimidated by mushrooms. They don't necessarily, know how to cook them. They don't know how to properly prep them, or wouldn't even know
Yeah.
where to begin. And I feel like when it comes to that, like when you're at that point in something, it like that's like the most intimidating, right? It's like that's arguably like make it or break it kind of deal.
Yeah.
Um,
People have the misconception. It's a texture thing too. People are like, oh, slimy or it's probably because
yeah,
they haven't had the right approach to it.
and people are just also accustomed to freaking white button mushrooms, and like white button mushrooms are like just the garbage of the of the mushroom. And I love all mushrooms, but white button mushrooms, it's like I really could like it's like you're basically eating something that's not even, it's like an unripe fruit. That's, imagine eating an unripe apple,
Yeah.
and for some reason now unripe apples are the most common, arguably farmed mushroom, I don't know, maybe in the world. I'm talking
Yep.
out my ass when I say that, but it's a lot because portobellos, baby bellows, white
Creminis.
buttons, agaricus bisporus, it is, it's all the same thing, just different
Right.
times.
It's the industrialized mushroom because not only one is just prevalent, but it's just super easy to grow. It really doesn't grow on a nutritional bed of substrate. I've been to several cremini and
They grow them in just freaking
just vats.
big ass beds. Yeah,
Yeah,
right?
and a lot of
So
it is not even nutritional, substrate. Most of it is grown on a recycled sawdust and straw and a mash and slurry of perlite. It's
really?
it. All they need is really moisture to really pop out a mushroom, especially a baby bella or cremini or a white button mushroom. It doesn't really need much to grow, and they're just pumped out. Like it's just
What's
the
a
man.
cremini? Is a cremini a baby bella?
In a sense, yes, it's just the same thing. Cremini is just a darker, browner cap mushroom than the white button mushroom. They look very similar, but creminis have just a darker cap. Yeah,
Okay.
it's the baby Bella. You know,
It's all like it's so crazy. It's like there. I don't think there's really arguably any. And I just thinking about this right now. Like, how many other things in the world are there where like you sell it in like multiple phases of life? I guess like at least three, right?
there's a
Uh,
lot of things. Damn, I'm having a brain fart. Um,
yes. I don't
uh,
even know, dude. I had no idea. This is something that you could teach. I'm thinking maybe. I guess like, yeah. There's a
Green onion.
couple. Yeah, green onion. Fair.
It comes from the bulb of a onion plant. So, whole onion, green onion grows out the shoot.
Is that really it? Is that's how that is?
Yeah. um, gosh,
Oh
what else?
man, I'm
Can't
such
even
a
think.
poser when it comes to plants and mushrooms. How do I? What am I? No, I'm just kidding.
No, you're
there's,
knowledgeable. Gosh, I'm having a
there's so
brain
much I
fart.
don't know though. I feel like it's a very humbling thing to realize. You know what I mean? Sometimes I think like I know a little bit. Sometimes I do, but for the most part, it just smacks me in my face. Like I don't know shit. Keep
Oh
learning
yeah,
about.
it's. I've been schooled on stage before by someone that was just, in the back side of the room, and I was like, oh my gosh, and I said, you know what, good sir, you're right. Please forgive me. I was wrong about that, and it made me really draw back going, there's not always going to be information that I can just drop going, this is it, this is the fact. I kind of approach it going, this is what has worked for me, and this is my understanding of how this is why and when and so forth. And literally right after I make that statement, as if anybody knows otherwise or could really help me out with that, I would be more than happy to receive that information. It's like you said, being humble is the best, and I've had to learn the hard way for sure. Being arrogant has never been my approach, but going, I don't know everything. I've had some of the beginners going, hey, I had this cool idea, and I'm like, yeah, share with me, let me know. And some of these people are fresh into the industry, have showed me things or taught me things, and I'm extremely grateful because we always learn from each other. I don't know diddly squat. I just know what I know.
That's all I know as well. And I only know what I know, and I was taught by who I was taught by,
Right.
and whatever I can offer you is whatever I've learned via advice from people and my own experience. Right.
Exactly. And I think the greatest information that I love to share with people in my classes or whatever is sharing information that I learned from my mistakes. And if I have failed time and time and time again, over and over, and failing forward into my momentum and my process and learning what to do and what not to do, is if I share my mistakes with someone, that saves them time, money, frustration, and allows them to move forward with their process and their journey a little bit faster, going, hey, this is all the mistakes I made right here in front of you. If you want, go ahead and experience it for yourself, but I'm trying to save you some time and money. Here are all
Yeah,
my mistakes. Here's where I
dude.
went wrong.
That's a great way to come at it. Like, it's like this is the absolute, like, if say like you come out with a book, like this is the absolute worst mycology book you will ever want to, like, you will ever read. Every single thing in here you will fail like your experiments doing. And it's like learn from it how you do. you
Don't
know?
vacuum seal fresh, wet cow manure and pressure cooker it. Sterilize it.
Dude.
God. Woo. Yeah.
You done that? I've never pressure cooked it, but fucking,
Yeah. My poor wife. Nope.
I'm
Yep.
sorry.
Yeah. Methylene gas, methane gas, like all of that. One day I was just laying in my bed, where my lab used to be. It used to be a bedroom, and then it worked into like just a bed, and then the lab around the bed. But that's no longer. Thank God. We were just laying in bed one time, and I hear a pop, and I'm like, the heck was that? And all of a sudden, just massive methane gas smell.
Ew.
Oh yeah, because I've always made my own substrate.
Yeah.
But that was the last time I'll ever use steer manure. You can, but it has to be processed and dried appropriately before using it. But oh dear God, that was horrible. I think we almost died.
Dude, that's so gross. I mean,
Yeah.
I've definitely had my house smelling like poop many, many, many days
Yep.
via
That's bad.
just experiments. Uh, thinking back, like speaking to my friends who aren't into mycology, it is pretty gross. I got freaking poo in the kitchen, mixing up substrate and shit. But like when it's like field aged like that, it's basically just dirt. It's like
It
it's not
doesn't smell
even
though.
it's not like a fresh dookie. So that I feel like there's a big misconception when it comes to like manure that's
Right.
used in substrate. Uh, for anybody who's watching this episode, it's not like a fresh poop. It's not. There's not like fresh dookie dumps in there. It's like field aged for a long time,
Sun bleach, dried out.
sun bleached, looking like
I used to get my
dirt and
hands in there.
Sam, you didn't get the question. You didn't get the
I was giving Van so much crap for that. I was like, "Shit." Um, I'm neither biased. It really depends on your approach, how you've cultivated the genetics, where the genetics are from, or if they're yours that you've been isolated, not yours, but if you've been working with it and you've been isolating it into a certain approach, then it really would determine on how it best performs. I've seen a genetic that I've worked hand in hand with for years, and it would outperform in a tub than it went in a bag, and vice versa. Other genetics do extremely well in a bag and perform somewhat okay in a tub. And I do both. But most of the time, I like to keep it to a bag because I don't cultivate very much, and I don't need a lot. Just to clone a few here and there to contain the genetics and continue it on, and a monotub will create a good consistent canopy, and I just don't need all that fruit. So it really depends on the cultivator, the genetic, your approach, and the atmospheric conditions that you are trying to aim for. So I am Neither. I'm a bag and tub. Tub bag. Bag tub.
Bag tub, tub
Bag tub.
bag is neutral.
Yeah.
Uh, could you what are some varieties that you feel grow better in like bags and some that grow better in tubs
Oh,
in your
wow.
experience?
That's a great question. Yes. So, really, when I was just seeing some oddities going on with some of my clients, and they were growing in bags. There's some hybridizations, a tidal wave ape, or a super ape that I've been working with too, and my BM3, and none of it was doing really well for them in their bag. So I was like, it's doing fine for me in my bag. So I grabbed one of their bags that they were using and compared it with one of my bags, and I did a control experiment where I would use one spawn bag and put it into some of it in my bag and some of it in their bag, and I would see the difference. And it's all about really the patch as well. The bag was the same size, but the patch was failing on them, and that's when, like 3 years ago, I found out that unicorns zero point 0.5 was really not a zero point 0.5, and the approach is to just understanding the gas exchange itself. But what I saw that was working really well was some squatties that really needed just a little bit longer in that CO2 content. And I believe in bags, it's a lot easier to control that high CO2 content before you're introducing fanning into it. Because with a tub, whether if it's being maneuvered or manipulated or moved around, there's always going to be a slight maneuver of air and gases inside of there. But I
Yeah.
would say Ape and my ODPE, my tidal wave Ape, have done extremely well in bags, as long as you're giving it that time to have that extra CO2 lag right before the primordial development is really vigorous. And that's why people have that misunderstanding of casing. It's okay to case. It can lead to problems down the way, but what casing is doing is allowing that extra time after fully colonizing and giving it that extra vigorous growth of rhizomorphic growth sprouting through that casing layer. But you can still do the same process with allowing it that lag time into a CO2 content, like in its atmosphere
So
and
when
its
you say
orbit.
that, when you say the lag time and the CO2 content, let's kind of like go. Can we go a little more in depth in that for that? Just so it's like for the people who are listening.
Sure.
Um, as far as like, so you say the primordial growth, right? Then you're like, you start to get your hyphae and your arguably, um, and how do you put a bag into fruiting? How do you start the fresh air exchange? Is that
Good
uh,
question. So when I found out that myself, back in the day, I had quite the operation I was working for, and we were growing thousands of bags, and we were just having failure after failure, trying to figure out the gas content, the oxygen content in the room. It didn't really matter what the room was at. It was the fact that these patches weren't allowing enough gas exchange. I'll grab one right now. So, for instance, when Unicorn created these bags, they were right in saying it was a zero point 0.5, and it's got this little thatch mark on that. You can see the little cross hatches on there.
mm-hmm.
But what people didn't understand is that these bags really weren't developed to have all of this negative space at the top and then the substrate being at the bottom. What it was used for is to fill the entire bag for it and have the substrate pushing on the patch, which would cause a pressure gradient, allowing a free transfer of oxygen and CO2 to be released consistently and cohesively, because the whole thing was the substrate. With this
uh,
negative space on the top, what you're having is all the mycelium is starting to colonize this bag. And as mycelium is colonizing, it's creating CO2 gas. And CO2 gas is more dense than oxygen. And that's why you always see like carbon dioxide readers towards the bottom of the house or so forth, because CO2 gas drops. As the CO2 gas is percolating up and it's creating this bubble or cloud, if you will, inside of this bag, the oxygen that is wanting to penetrate this patch, it can, but it only stays up here because it can't push down through all that CO2 gas. And so with that, you have to do slight modifications to the bag and create its own pressure gradient, and doing a cut down here and a cut through the patch, covering it with several layers of micropore tape, covering this with several layers of micropore tape, pushing all that gas out and then pulling the bag up is allowing that instant flow of oxygen and CO2 gas exchange. And that was the modification that we're having to do to all these bags because it wasn't designed to do what we were wanting it to do. And we had to make all those modifications. And then when I came to understanding that there was a lot of misconception with the bag, not only misconception, but when Unicorn was extruding these bags and stamping those patches, a lot of the polypropylene and polystyrene, which is the bag itself, was being pulled out and then stamped kind of behind the patch, so it wasn't allowing enough like pressure or enough gas exchange inside the bag itself. So we were taking readings inside the bag and right outside the patch. The readings of parts per million of CO2 was up to like 22,000, which is
Wow,
extremely,
that's a lot. Holy
yeah.
crap.
And you're not going to get fruiting at all if it's that high. So I've been
Yeah, no
messing up.
way.
And so like slight modifications to that bag. But what I've been finding out is that the polymer Tyvek point 2 patches have worked just sufficiently enough for without any modification. And those,
Polymer pot Tyvek 2, did you
yes,
say?
so it's a point 2, so it's a white patch like this.
Uh huh.
And it's like
Okay. Is it like
these
flat?
patches. What's that?
It's basically like flat almost.
Yeah, it's not like a woven material. It's
Yeah.
more of like a feels like plastic, but it's a polymer material almost.
I actually have a question for you. Um, so the unicorn bags, like those filters, at least what you call it, it's the T10s.
Oh, the 10T bags, the grain
They're
bags.
the T10T, yeah, the grain bags. Sorry. Have you ever had experience with getting alcohol on filter patches? Have you,
Yes, and for a long time they were making it a material that you don't want to get the alcohol on it because it goes translucent for a while.
it still does.
Right, but
So
then
what
eventually
is?
now
Do
it
you
starts.
know what that is? Is that a like? So that's something. Whenever that happens, I kind of like always. I just don't end up using that bag or like but like I'm not too sure. Now I'm not necessarily sure if that's like a negative issue.
Um, yes and no. When you're spraying it directly, that could lead to problem if it's beating up. It could start to
Usually it's
seep
like I
into
like
it.
cleaning the bag and I'll like swipe across it. Then I'll be like, damn it, I got.
That's fine because if you let it sit in front of your flow hood long enough, you'll see eventually it goes back. So this is what you're talking about, and then I'm going to wipe it, and it goes
Yeah,
translucent. So eventually it goes back. That's just a simple science experiment showing you that. So when there's a separation and then you're getting it wet, which is there's water in there, 70% isopropyl alcohol. The light is no longer bouncing back and forth. It's made it translucent for a second, and as it's starting to dry, the light is able to bounce back and forth, creating that white layer of color that you see.
but that doesn't affect the micron filter like
Um, Not
value.
necessarily indefinitely. I wouldn't do it over and over again, but at that moment, as those tiny microscopic threads of Tyvek are kind of separated, that could be a point of chance where if you spray it again or if you wipe it again, it can either tear or allow a little bit of alcohol in it. But other than that, it's only temporary. As I'm looking at it right now, it's almost dry.
Yeah, no, it's a quick little thing. I mean, isopropyl alcohol, pretty much. That's why they say not to use 90% because it dissipates too fast. It doesn't really do
Correct.
the
Yeah.
job of cleaning. So that's why you should always use 70%. Um, on the teaching thing, man, collab in the lab with Twisted Tree.
Yeah.
That is cool, my guy. Hold on, I'm gonna grab my phone because it's still going off. I think I just have to turn down my volume. Oh my gosh.
Popular
Uh,
man.
yeah, man. But I think that's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah,
Um,
it was awesome. Melissa and Justin, they came up to me and asked and talked to me about it, and we fiddled around with the idea for a bit, and we came to my lab and did some shots with Papa Cap, and I all of a sudden I just came up with a name out of nowhere, and Melissa's eyes just opened up, and you know funny enough, ironic, it was a collaboration of all of our ideas kind of thrown together after that, and we just got inspired, and we're having guests on our show. I won't give away the secret of who was here this Monday. It was really nice to have him here. He's been a friend of mine for
I
God.
think I know.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah, stay tuned. It's
Yee.
exciting. And it was like I was like a little kid too, because even though we've been friends for years and I finally met him in person at the Oklahoma Fungi Fest, to have him in my house and in my lab was just like, man, if I knew back in 2016 and 17 that you would be standing in my house, I'd just be ecstatic. I would be so freaking crazy right now. Like, and it was great. Like, for him to have that friendship, we were just super cohesive and very fluid on camera because it was just like us being friends and just
Yeah, you're
being
just
nerds
hanging out.
together. Yeah, it was
That's
so much
exciting.
fun. So I'm excited to show you guys the next show, and we're gonna have multiple people. Eventually, even have you. Like, it would be
I would
fun.
love to be on there.
Yeah, dude. You have to be here though. Like, I don't
Yeah,
know
I'll
if
come. I'll come specifically for that.
excellent. Yes.
Wow, I did
Oh
not turn that
shit!
off. Oh my. Uh,
Gotta put
just
that thing on
everybody,
silent, bro.
stop blowing me up. I'm trying to do this episode.
It's all me. I'm like doing it under the table. I'm texting you.
Oh my god, hold on. I don't even know how to do. I don't know how to work these phones anymore. I'm a caveman. There
Yeah,
we
I
go.
know. I missed the brick phone that would come out of the
Yeah,
bag in
it's
the
like the big
90s.
one.
Yeah, like in the 80s. Right?
Yeah, you had to pull up the antenna.
Man, I remember the curly phones with the
Yeah, with
roll
the dial,
dial.
you had to.
Fuck, I messed up again. I gotta hang up and do it again.
I know. It's like 10 minutes later, you've been trying to call 911. Somebody's already stolen all your shit.
Oh man. Ah,
um. So do you have any? Oh wait, I did want to ask, since you were talking about how you're making your customized supplements for um, people. Is there any way? Is that like a thing that anybody can do? Is there a way for like the listeners and viewers to possibly even do that if they're interested?
yeah, they can either reach out to me or there's other companies. You definitely want to make sure that your sources are covered by your own self, like education. Like, if you're gonna really look into supplementing it yourself, find a reputable brand. Mushrooms is a pretty good one. All of these other brands that are coming up, where like they're the coffee, supplements or drinks or so forth. They are good, but there's a lot of beta glucans. There's a lot of compounds that they're missing, and it's not even from the fruit itself, the fruiting body itself. I love Alive, yes, dude.
Dude, I
GT's
think it's
kombucha.
gross.
What's that?
I don't like the flavor, man. I've
Oh,
tried three of the four, and I'm not a huge fan.
did you try the root beer one?
Yeah.
You don't like that one? I just like kombucha. I have a kombucha set
Oh,
over
me too,
here.
dude. I
I love
love
it.
kombucha. I have ulcerative colitis, so I
Oh,
take a lot of like prebiotics and probiotics. Try to eat like a lot of like fruits and veggies and stuff like that are good for the tum.
kimchi.
Yeah, ferment like pretty much for I like so I don't like pickles very much, but the fermented pickles are pretty good. The refrigerated ones. When I say pickles, I mean pickled cucumbers specifically, because for
Yeah,
some reason pickled cucumbers are like the all like all god like the god of pickles, and they just get the word they get to be named pickle,
yeah.
even though like what about pickled okra?
Oh, I was just about to say that. That's my favorite pickled
Yeah, I
okra.
love pickled okra.
Yes.
Arguably way better than pickled cucumbers. And if anybody who's listening has something to say about that, that's fine.
Eat your pickle. Eat
Yeah,
your
eat.
pickle.
Anybody can eat whatever pickle they want to eat.
Um, Getting back to the supplements, like actually being
Yeah,
educated, because if you look on the
absolutely.
back, it's like it says myceliated block or myceliated compounds or something. You want to look for the fruiting body, and
Fruiting
that's what I
body.
take. Yeah, the fruiting body is important because if you're just taking the myceliated blocks or so forth, you're getting trace amounts of those beta glucans and those compounds and nutrients that you need. Yes, but are you really getting your money's worth? Are they just using just like the cutout waste and so forth? But yeah, just being educated, looking at your product, finding a good source. If you don't feel like making the capsules yourself, you can come to me or look at other people that are in the industry that are trustworthy. I think someone should really be educated into making a very wise decision for themselves and to where they're going to get it, how they're going to get it. If you're going to supplement it for yourself and you've never grown these before, I highly suggest that you start from the beginning first because there are a lot of problems down the way that you could ingest something you don't really want to or shouldn't.
Yeah, I think I think it's very important for people to understand that like all of this isn't a cure all. It's very much like a supplement. Um, while there are studies being done and stuff, it's you know yeah, you can only really study so much. So it's very much a thing of like looking up actually yourself what these mushrooms are doing via personal experience.
Right.
Looking up like and also even like the scientific um values of them as well. It's I like to think like with mycology, and I'd like to say it's probably with mushrooms as well. It's arguably everything, right? Like even like it's just like everything. It's like it's a recommendation, the guidelines for you to start somewhere to try to be proactive. And this isn't,
Right.
it's not coming. There's no negative to it, right?
No. And
Um,
a lot of my clients are like 80s, 70s. And the question I get a lot is like, oh, is this going to mess with my medications? I'm like, no, your medications are going to mess with that. Like, you're like on 1,000 medications and you're worried about taking a natural plant medicine or fungi
yeah,
medicine.
for the most part, it's like you're gonna get these things one way or another. If whether it's from a mushroom or like an all-in-one vitamin, like all-in-one men's, or whatever.
And
But
that's
I guess like
unfortunate.
there's like a synthetic version probably, and then this is like a natural version, and there's many. It's that it's a harsh comparison, but
Right. I'm glad you
the
mentioned that because that's something I learned in when I was taking horticultural science and nutritional health science. That my French professor, I remember him saying that Americans have the most expensive excrement out of any country in the world, and all of us were kind of grossed out. I was very intrigued, like why? And what happens is that we're in this daily lifestyle, and which I might I add, Americans have a horrible lifestyle, full of cortisol, full of working in front of a computer or whatever, and just not being consistent in healing themselves, but working for the man constantly. So you're just ignoring all these problems in life, physically and mentally. But we're gonna pop this multivitamin, and our bodies are so complex. It's going to take some of the vitamins and minerals and compounds in there, and 70 to 80% of it we poop and pee out, because there's these free radicals, there's all these components inside of our body that it can't adjust and work with. There's also a lot of things that we need to have in our body, balanced hormonal position and chemicals in our brain, but also you can't absorb A, C, and E without complex vitamin D, which is the sun. Yes, you can take vitamin D3, but without complex vitamin D from the sun, you can't absorb A, C, and E. And without A, C, and E,
really
you can't absorb folate, unsoluble fibers. There's a lot of things that we're missing within our day-to-day regimen, our lifestyle, that we just don't really properly give our bodies the nutrition that it needs. And with these compounds, these mushrooms, is allowing us to purge toxins in our body and allow these little gaps in our subsystem and our bloodstream to open up to allow those vitamins to go into. So the mushrooms and the daily vitamin work hand in hand together. It's great.
And I guess, dude, going and to add to all of that, full circle back to nature hikes because you need to your sunshine. It's important to go outside. It's not about drinking orange juice or Sunny D. It's about
5% juice. I love that. I know they can't put sun on a drink when it's not even grown from the sun. Dear Lord, it's like calling Nestle Quick chocolate.
Gosh, yeah, but I mean Nestle Quick though. I'll destroy a bottle every now and then. I'm not gonna front.
You know what? I miss my Yoo-hoo.
Oh, dude, Yoo-hoo's the OG forever.
Yep.
Like I like the little like glass bottles, but then also the boxes with the straw.
Oh yeah. God, man, I missed growing up in the '90s when I was a kid. I was born in early '80s, '83, and then I was lived most of my life in the '90s.
Yeah,
But man, those were the good old days, when
dude.
had
I guess
stuff like that.
I was raised kind of like I was like a kid in the 2000s, born in '93,
Oh wow, 10 years
uh,
older, exactly 10 years. When's your birthday?
June 9th.
Oh, okay, man. Mine's April
Enjoy.
11th.
Okay. Oh
Nice.
man, we're gonna be judged by all of the astrologists on this next episode. I'm
I'm a double fire Aries. Judge me. I will burn your computer down. I don't know. Like, I'm the nicest and sweetest person, but I can be very, very sharp and like. But I've learned how to polish down my approach to people. Age
Fair enough.
becomes
Create
wisdom.
boundaries, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I'm a very forward. I'm a no bullshit person. I am who I am. I don't hide
I am what I
anything.
am. What I am.
Rawr. Oh yeah, I'm definitely Popeye. I'm a sailor, so
I'm glad you
and I
got that
eat
reference.
I don't eat spinach out of a can. That's fucking gross.
No, but I would like if you could eat spinach out of a can by squeezing it and then like catching it, and that would be so impressive. I would have to have you do that on the podcast.
You know what? I'm gonna do that like a prop can where it's not real tin,
Yes,
and it's gonna
dude,
get messy, but I'll do it for the show, dude.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Next one, next time you're on,
Bloop.
um, dude. So, do you? Gosh, I know. Do you have a website? Do you have? I know you have the gram. Um, I guess
Yeah.
I'm slacking in that accord. My bad.
So I definitely have fungi alternatives. That is my business. I opened up in 2019, made it official LLC. And that's my business. My website is under the works. It's kind of under construction right now. There's some things going on with that. But I would love to have like an e-commerce site or something like Shopify or something for, the meddling mushroom and for fungi alternatives kind of work together. But as my new culinary aspect and lifestyle is going to intertwine with fungi alternatives, I'm going to make like an e-commerce site where someone can order these fruiting blocks, have these mushrooms sent to their house as the mushrooms growing and walking through the cultivation process and so forth, and then sending them a box of ingredients. So when it comes time and their mushrooms are done, we do a class together and I can teach people how to make these dishes.
Whoa, that's cool. So you're gonna do like a live little like Zoom call where you're gonna walk them through and throw down in the kitchen with them.
Yes. And no one better steal my idea. Whoever's watching, no, I'm just joking. Do it. I'm just really excited to do that because it's like that one-on-one basis, and I think people would really enjoy that. A lot of people just want to get back to the basics and not overcomplicate things. There's a lot of misinformation. I was on Shroomery a long time ago,
Dude, cooking
and
with the meddler.
yeah, That's why I love it. Like that's why I chose that name. Everybody was Myco this, Myco that. And if you kind of like if you look into definitions, meddling or meddler is not always a good definition, and it wasn't always vindictive
No,
in my work, but it was something I always wanted to manipulate and see what it did, and that's how I felt myself as like a magician.
dude, I wanted to say something. I also wanted to mention how we had spoken about having fun. Uh, having fun in mycology, right? I think that is something that more people should do. While being serious and sterile and sterile conditions and all that stuff is super important. I think people are getting lost in the fact that they can make money in this, and it's turning it into like a miserable job for a lot of people. And then it's getting this rap that it's like well, when you use it like a cash cow, it does when you use anything like a cash cow, it's going to get that feeling of like ugh. Um, and what are some ways that you try to like make mycology, continue to, keep it fun for you? Like for instance, I recently poured agar dishes with, I poured agar dishes and used two gushers and a Pepperidge Farm cookie as the nutritional value. And they threw down, dude. I've got some ropes from the
Dude,
illusion weaver from Swab that that we were talking about earlier. It's throwing down a rope from Spore on
wow.
the gusher plates.
That's awesome. And I bet you got the coloring from the gusher as well.
Yeah, it was like very, very. It's like a very, very, very faint pink, and they were the best smelling plates I've ever poured in my life. It smelled like strawberry.
That's awesome. No, that's a great way to have fun. Just messing around and like trying to figure out what works with you. As the wise words of Reggie, fuck around and find out. Excuse my French, but that's
Yeah,
what you gotta do. You really do. And if you're not having fun with mycology or whatever you're doing, if you're not having fun in your job or your passion or your hobby, whatever it is, then you really aren't doing it right, or you probably shouldn't be doing it at all. Like if you're not having fun at anything that you're wanting to approach in life, then really should
pretty
ask yourself,
much.
is it worth doing?
Yeah, I mean, like, do you genuinely like if you're not doing it for you, then what are you doing it for? Uh,
Right. And there's
you
a lot of
know,
people in this game right now that have infiltrated this industry and they're doing it for as like a cash cow, or they're trying to blow up the scene and be the best at it and be the
yeah,
e-commerce or the best seller on Amazon or this that's not what it's about. And some of the best people in this industry, including yourself, is in it for the passion, for the love, the connection, not just with customers and clients, but with each other, sharing information. And some of these people that I idolize and look up to, they have that simple heart. They're compassionate. They're very soft spoken. Look at Alan Rockefeller. He's one of the nicest guys ever, and he is the most knowledgeable person that I know in this field. Like, he is
he
just,
was so kind when I met
he's
him.
so kind, like, exceptional at what he does, and he's very humble and quiet, soft spoken, and just a nice dude. Like, that should be a prime example of how this industry should be.
It's
We're not
pure,
in it
right?
a big show.
He's
Yeah.
like he's a pure individual who's literally just spreading the knowledge and love of something that he has knowledge and love, like that he's interested in.
Yeah.
Um, that's so cool, man. And you know yourself, right? I feel like you should also be included into that because you very, very clearly have passion with what you're doing, and it shows.
And
And
it's
then on the other end, it also shows with the people who are just in it for the money.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate we can sift through that, but also at the same time, it's not like dropping the dime or calling someone out, but also making the new people in that are coming up into cultivating or just wanting to buy product or whatever, just kind of making them aware that there is a difference from selling someone mass producing this product to someone just doing it for a passion project or out of the goodness of their heart, because you'll see that in anything you do, in any industry that you do. As soon as you industrialize it and you mass produce it, you're going to lose that touch, that fine
Yeah, that
detail.
personal, the mom and pop value to it. Uh,
Correct.
that then it turns into a commercialized race to the bottom.
Yes. And that's unfortunate. And so I think it's our job, like yours, mine, the good people in this community, to educate people into understanding that, into being aware of it, and not being suckered into a great marketing scheme. And these people are that and this, and I'm not naming names, but there's some product out there. It's a powder mix or a drink mix or a coffee substitute that they have great marketing schemes, great product packaging, and so forth. And when you analyze the ingredients, they're not very good. So people just need to be educated. I think that's our job, to help them understand.
I agree, man. And then that also goes back to like the myceliated products. I'd like to maybe, just kind of go into detail a little bit about what that actually means. This is to for people who don't necessarily know what they're talking about, or are still learning, uh, as we all are. Uh, with the myceliated products, like there's some people, there's some products that it's not you. They're not using the fruiting bodies. They'll use the myceliated grain,
Right.
because the grain and the mycelium would technically have some value of, I guess, nutritional compounds in it,
Right.
that somebody along the line said that this was efficient enough to use in an extracted form for people possibly using this to benefit themselves in a medicinal manner, which is
Right.
absurd for me
And
to even think about.
it's ridiculous. And who's giving that stamp of okay? The FDA. The FDA
They
is
don't
also
even take,
allowing.
yeah.
It's just crap. Like why would the FDA allow high fructose corn syrup to be so readily available and consumed in 90% of the product that Americans eat? And I tell all my clients, if you go to a grocery store, you've already made one wrong decision. If you shop anything that is sitting on a shelf, uh, other than rice, dried legumes, pasta, then you're wrong. If it sits on a shelf, it should be neither of that, or maybe like flour to make your goods. But the grocery stores are what's evil. Look at Europe. None of our bread is legal in Europe, and that's because there's 20 ingredients in our bread. There shouldn't be.
There should be 4 ingredients.
That's it. Ice cream should have 5, 6 at the most ingredients. No, you see monodiglycerides, all of this crap that our body doesn't know what to do with. That's why we have all these terrible ailments, these weird mutations throughout our lifestyle in our society in America, is because we're pumped full of these ingredients that preserve the life and the
Well,
shelf life.
even, and I say this like as like when I was a teenager. When I was a teen, I looked like a dweeb. I mean, for the most part, I still am a dweeb.
Guilt discharge.
Wow, no, high five that. But I feel like nowadays, like some kids are like, I feel like they're like 7 foot tall, like towering over me, and, ready to be like a defensive linebacker straight
GMOs.
out of high school, and it's like the people weren't that big when I was that age. We were still like worried about like Pokemon and like I don't know, going through puberty and stuff.
How didn't you know what Pokemon was? I think I was in high school around the time.
No, I mean I don't even know. I don't even.
It can see it.
I would I would play outside a lot as a kid. BMX. We'd build tree forts. You
Yeah.
know,
Go
run
outside and play.
around. Sometimes like we'd like experimentally eat like a habanero pepper.
I blame these things.
It's the worst.
Uh, Cell
They've,
phones or the
they've
deterioration of
blown me up.
society. Yeah, like the new gen, like they're constantly buried in their phones. And when my wife and I do go out, which is rare, we go out to eat. I'll kind of look around the restaurant and I see families, every single person at the table buried in their phone, and that's a bad lifestyle. That's a bad approach to a
Yeah.
healthy society, and it's
I'm
unfortunate.
guilty to it, of it to an extent myself. Sometimes, I feel like
Yeah,
in
we
this
all are.
generation, in this time of age, not, you can't not. And if you are, it's just like if you don't, it's just I don't even understand it really. You know what I mean? To it, there has to be like somewhat of a level of like using a phone. Um,
Yeah, I'm looking forward to my solo hike. I'm gonna go on a couple day hike backpacking camping trip. I was supposed to go with Van, but it just never lined up. But eventually, him
Damn,
and I will do that. Yeah, Mycotropic.
that would be cool. Um, Man, feel like I wanna like just ask you a question. It's gonna be a super random question.
Okay.
Um, what is your favorite ice cream flavor?
Hmm. Well, if you've ever been to a Handles, they're a natural creamery, so I'm very OCD about eating natural ingredients, and they're a great ice creamery. And they have a flavor called Monkey Business that's made out of banana and brownie chunks.
Mmm.
So bomb. But other than that, I'm a very vanilla dude with chocolate syrup, and then I mix it up in the bowl where it almost turns into a chocolate milkshake.
Nice, a
Yeah.
little chocolate ice cream soup.
Yeah, yeah, totally. What's your favorite ice cream?
Coffee. I like coffee,
Ooh,
like a little Java chip. A
yeah.
little, I don't know. For some reason, coffee flavors, they're just my jam. I feel like it's like I couldn't drink a cup of coffee the way coffee ice cream tastes like, but I
Mm,
can eat coffee ice cream. I like my coffee not so sweet, a little on the darker side.
nice.
I could go with or without sugar, to be honest. Especially if it's a great cup of Joe.
Ooh, Don Francisco.
I tried that. What's it called? That death or no? I don't even know. It's like a gosh, I forgot something. It's like
Strong coffee.
super strong coffee,
Oh,
um, and it's pretty good. It's like blueberry vanilla ground up. Usually, I get whole beans.
oh, that's good. Yeah,
Death
also
Wish
very
coffee is what
acidic.
it's called,
Oh,
and I think it's actually like I thought it like military owned or like veteran owned uh,
I can
company,
see that.
not military. Sorry.
Well, we have some of the strongest coffee. We actually have a cadence march song to some strong coffee in the Navy. Looks
Whoa!
like
So
dirty
you're in the Navy?
water, tastes like turpentine.
That's funny. I didn't know that. Well, gosh, man. Do you have any? I guess maybe to wrap it up. Do you have anything going on in the future? Any fun stuff dropping?
Um, Gonna be working on this project, my sport colliding hybridization project, which was verified by two reputable sources that my project is correct and my applications are sufficient enough for it to work. And so far, results are showing pretty well. That's coming up soon, and then hopefully putting some kind of culinary approaches to it. That would be great.
I'm excited about the culinary project. That's for sure.
Yeah,
And I didn't. I guess one more. Like foraging. So when you're hiking, do you forage?
I
And
do. Yeah.
what are some of your favorite mushrooms to forage?
Any mushroom, really. Because if I live in California, which is a desert, not for the last couple of weeks, it's been raining pretty well. But if I find any mushroom, I'm gonna forage it. But I'm not always going to consume it. But I'm also gonna bring it home, get some spores, take a swab, take a culture sample, and just mess around with it and see what it does. Identifying is another beast in its own. Really, you really can only identify if you've done your work for countless years, and also if you're examining the spore under a microscope, that's the best way to identify. But if you really are knowing or knowledgeable, if you're with some very reputable people that are in the industry and have been identifying mushrooms for years, then yeah, that's the best way to do it. But yeah, you can never be too sure.
Like pretty much said in every episode, always do your due diligence when it comes to foraging wild, foraging and eating wild mushrooms. Even though somebody could 100% identify a certain mushroom, it's always, in your benefit to do your own research.
Right.
Um, just so you know yourself. And you can find Jonathan via Instagram at the underscore meddling mushroom. That's MEDDLING mushroom. MUSHROOM, if you don't know how to spell it. Dude, it's been wonderful speaking to you, man, and I'm glad like we've been playing phone tag a little bit, trying to get this going. So it feels good to finally have gotten it done. And good golly gosh, the flow was impeccable.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you having me on your show. This is awesome.
Yeah, dude. And you just thanks for coming on, man. Keep inspiring people, dude. You inspire me every day, and I know you inspire a bunch of other people. You're a wonderful person, man. You're a huge part of the community, and we all really appreciate you. And
Oh,
thanks for
likewise,
coming on
homie.
the cast.
Yes, thank you. It was great to give you a big hug at the expo. It was good to see you again.
It was, and big hugs coming next time as well.
Heck yeah, buddy.
Well, thanks so much, bud. You have a nice rest of your day, and
You
I hope
too.
to have you on another episode in the future.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah, man. And that's it. Peace out.
Peace out, brother.